We're still in section 5.4 today, and our learning target is similar to yesterday. So we're going to factor and solve a polynomial equation we're going to use a different technique this time. This one is called in quadratic form. So that is in quadratic form. Yesterday, or in the first example, we just factored it, but today we're going to go ahead and solve it as well. So quadratic form means that it's a trinomial that looks like one you factored in chapter 4. And we can use the same technique that we did in chapter 4. So for example, we did quadratics in chapter 4, so this problem would have looked like this in chapter 4. And we would have done multiply to b, add to b to get our two factors. So we're going to do that again here. So I'm going to make my multiply to b, add to b table. Remember, I want two numbers that multiply to be 45 and add to be negative 14. Okay, so that would be negative 9 and negative 5. Now, when we did that with quadratics in chapter 4, we knew that that meant that our two factors were x minus 9 and x minus 5. Now, in this one, instead of x squared, we have x to the 4th power. So when we make our two factors, we have to do x squared minus 9 times x squared minus 5. Okay, that way, when we multiply the x squared times the x squared, we get x to the 4th power. Now, also you'll remember that this factor right here can be factored again. Just we went over this in the first example. This is going to be x plus 3 times x minus 3. And this one we're going to just leave the way it is here. Okay, so this one is completely factored. Now, and we're going to do another one. On this one, we're going to factor it, and then we're going to go ahead and solve it. So let's do another example of quadratic form. Okay, so we're going to solve this one, and we need to first get it set equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract the 10x squared over to the other side so that my equation will be set equal to 0. And remember, I need to write this in order, so I need to put the negative 10x squared after the x to the 4th. Okay, so this looks just like a quadratic. That's why we call it quadratic form. So I'm going to do my multiply to b, two numbers that multiply to be 9, and add to be this number negative 10. Okay, that would be negative 9 and negative 1. So when I go to my factors, remember again that this has to be x squared minus 9 and x squared minus 1. I just use these two numbers in my factors. Both of these can be factored again. So this one will factor into x plus 3 times x minus 3. And this one can be factored into x plus 1 times x minus 1. Okay, remember, if you have the difference of two perfect squares like this, it factors into a plus b times a minus b, which is what happened on both of these. Alright, now this time we've got it completely factored, but we want to find the solutions. Remember, to find the solutions, you use the zero product property. We did that a lot in chapter 4. And that tells me that one or all of these factors have to be equal to 0. So if x plus 3 equals 0, and I would subtract over the 3 to find my value of x, so the solution would be x equals negative 3. If I did it for the next factor, I would get x equals 3. Then from this factor, I would get x equals negative 1. And from this one, I would get x equals positive 1. So this equation actually had 4 solutions.